Some states are banning abortions during the coronavirus pandemic. Yesterday, a federal appeals court allowed Texas to continue its near total ban on the procedure. In an exclusive interview with CBS News, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton told our Kate Smith that he will defend the state's abortion ban all the way to the Supreme Court.
My guess is it'll go to the Supreme Court either way. If they take it, we'll either appeal it or Planned Parenthood will appeal it. So my guess is that's where it ends up.
Really? You're expecting to go to the Supreme Court with this?
It wouldn't surprise me. They have a very busy schedule right now. They've canceled several hearings, so I don't know how it would fit in. But it would not surprise me if there is not an appeal to the Supreme Court, whether they take it or not. Just have to see.
CBS News reporter Kate Smith joins me now. Kate, I'm curious, why is Paxton so convinced that this will end up in the Supreme Court?
Well, Rena, Paxton is convinced, as well as abortion rights advocates, that this will end up at the Supreme Court because what's going on in Texas is truly unprecedented. Right now, and for the past about 2 weeks, abortion has been completely unavailable for the vast majority of people who are seeking the procedure in the state. The only exception is for women whose life is at risk. Now, that hasn't happened since the procedure was legalized nearly 50 years ago in Roe v. Wade. So the reason why people think this is going to make it all the way to the nation's highest court is because you've simply never seen this happen before in over, nearly half a century.
What's the argument, Kate, for banning almost all abortions during this time period?
So, Rena, there are two arguments at play here. And the first is, just the foundation of what Roe v. Wade is. And we often talk about it as, of course, the Supreme Court precedent that legalized abortion. But there's something else in there that's critically important to this particular case. It allows states to regulate the procedure as they believe it would improve the safety of their constituents in their state. Now, what Texas argues is that we are in the middle of a global pandemic of a size that we have not ever seen in modern times. So, of course, by regulating abortion, they argue very succinctly that they are trying to improve the safety of their constituents. Now, the second idea, and this is, one that the courts have really nailed in on, is the idea that government power during a global pandemic, during an emergency state, allows for certain constitutional rights to be curtailed. So between those two, that is what Texas's argument is for levying a near total ban on the procedure right now.
I'm curious, Kate, if there are other states similar to Texas following similar actions at this moment.
So, Rena, there are. And what's critically important to note is that all of the states who have restricted abortion access during the coronavirus pandemic are ones that have historically passed restrictions on the procedure. So these are traditionally anti-abortion states that we're looking at. Ohio was the very first one. About 3 weeks ago, the AG came out and said that abortion services would be included in the state's suspension of so-called elective, non-essential procedures. And since then, you've seen several other states come out and do the same. You've seen Alabama do this, Ohio, again, Iowa, and Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, they were successful in banning the procedure on the ground temporarily before a federal judge overturned that decision.
And what's been the reaction on the other side of all of this, Kate?
Well, this is absolutely gigantic if you are an abortion rights supporter like a Planned Parenthood or a Center for Reproductive Rights. Like I mentioned, this simply has not happened in nearly 50 years. And, I say that again because it is so important here. There are people on the ground who are pregnant and don't want to be pregnant anymore. And even though abortion is legal, it doesn't matter because they legally can't get one. So, we spoke so much about those 6-week bans from last year. When I talked to people about those last year, they told me this is the worst thing that has happened in the abortion rights world since we were trying to legalize this procedure to begin with. Well, they're saying the same thing again now. And they're saying that, okay, that was really bad, but what's happening now is even worse. And it is nothing like we have ever seen. So, even though we're in the middle of this global pandemic, what some say is that this is a public health crisis within a public health crisis.
Kate Smith, I want to thank you so much for joining us with your reporting.
Thank you.